Hey, what's up mortals? Zigzag here, and welcome to part 8 of What If Naruto Had a Leveling System. Want to invite you to sit back and relax? You're in for a treat. And so, we begin. There were 6 teams that had managed to make it past the second portion of the Chunin exams. It was rare for there to be so many people to actually make it this far. Unfortunately, the proctors needed to cut down the numbers a bit, so a preliminary event was created. Though Sakura wanted to say something about the strange mark on Sasuke that had been affecting him negatively since they had left the Frost Gate, a cold look from Sasuke shut her up. She immediately turned her face to avoid eye contact with the black-haired Uchiha. Kakashi placed his hand on Sasuke's shoulder. He kneeled down and informed the boy that he would be forced to intervene if there was anything wrong with Sasuke. He didn't necessarily know what was going on, but he could tell something was troubling him. Sakura whispered into Kakashi's ear what the issue was, causing the silver-haired ninja to nod his head in understanding. "You snitch," Sasuke muttered. Sakura apologized, but Sasuke turned his back to her. He didn't care for her excuses right now. He figured Kakashi was going to stop him from fighting. But to his surprise, Kakashi had only told him to not lose control out there. Sasuke huffed before leaving to meet his opponent. He was the first one up, so he had to make a good impression, and especially show Naruto that he was still strong. He looked at his opponent and gave them a glare. He didn't seem so strong. He could defeat this guy with no issues, right? Yeah, of course he could. He was an Uchiha, and this guy was just some no-name ninja. He was wrong. He didn't want to use any of his jutsus while fighting this guy because of how the seal around his neck was affecting him. It seemed to be connected to his flow of chakra, but this guy was absorbing it. Sasuke couldn't go out like this. What could he do, though? This guy was stealing all of his chakra. Would it be better to use what little chakra he had in order to fight back, or accept defeat now? One option meant he would risk revealing the curse mark to everyone, but the other would bring such shame that he couldn't call himself an Uchiha with pride ever again. It wasn't his clan's way to give up so easily. His decision was also influenced by a couple of taunts from Naruto as well. In the end, he mustered up the courage to use the Lion combo, which was a partial copy of Rock Lee's Front Lotus. This caught Yoroi off guard. In a matter of seconds, Sasuke managed to land some devastating blows, which ended up costing Yoroi the match. Sasuke won and Yoroi was out cold. Kakashi quickly went to attend his student right after he noticed some strange markings begin to surround the young Uchiha's body. This only showed what the potential Chunin were up against. They could only imagine how the official tournament was going to be. Several matches went by, with some being more disturbing, such as Shino's own, where he ended up encasing his opponent in a cage of insects that ate his chakra, immobilizing him. Choji ended up fighting Kankuro during the preliminaries. Choji's body was a bit strange for Kankuro to handle at first, but he eventually got the edge, winning the match by using his puppets to lure Choji into a trap. Sakura found herself fighting Ino, and despite the blonde's taunts, Sakura kept her composure. She punched her former friend in the nose before disappearing from her line of sight. She could still hear the girl's voice, though. Ino looked around, but it was fruitless. She was getting punched all over, but there was no Sakura. This was frustrating to no end. Her sides hurt. She clutched her abdomen in pain when Sakura kicked her. She felt like she was about to throw up. From the audience's perspective, all they saw was Sakura sending an onslaught of attacks onto the girl in purple. They didn't know why Ino wasn't fighting back. Well, they had a feeling, but they couldn't say for sure. Sakura's attacks were relatively basic in nature, but they did the job. Ino ended up collapsing to her knees before falling unconscious from the pain. Sakura sighed in relief afterwards. She had started doing something new here. She tried amplifying the strength of the pain Ino would feel while trapped in her genjutsu. Kurenai told her that pain caused by the genjutsu itself wouldn't necessarily snap the victim out of it, but outside sources of pain could. And so, punching and kicking Ino wasn't the smartest decision here, but it still worked out in the end. Her attacks alone weren't really enough to take the girl out of the genjutsu anyway. She would have to improve on this different form of genjutsu as time moved on. She could probably add some burning effects if she really honed her craft here. The fifth match was 10-10 from Team 10 versus Tamari of the Sand Village. It was a humiliating loss for the weapon user. Tamari's proficiency with wind release helped her counter every last one of 10-10's projectiles, and knocked down the Konohagakure girl. Although Rock Lee wanted to avenge his teammate, Might Guy pulled him back. Shikamaru found himself facing Kabuto, but the older boy in the glasses retired from the match before it even began. Shikamaru had no complaints, he was less of a drag in his book. Everyone else saw this as extremely disappointing. They were preparing to see them fight, for crying out loud. The 7th match was Naruto against Kiba, and his companion Akumaru. Naruto folded his arms seeing this. "Isn't that kind of unfair? It's 2 against 1, Naruto pointed out. The referee allowed it though. Kiba was about to laugh at Naruto's attempt at trying to make the fight easier for himself, but Naruto brought up another question. "Okay, if Kiba's allowed to have a companion on the field, I should be allowed to bring in summonings, right?" The referee was confused at first when he heard this. Did Naruto already have summoning contracts? That was odd, but he gave Naruto the green light for him to do so. Naruto smirked as an ominous aura began to leak out from him. Everyone immediately felt chills up and down their bodies. What was this? Was he going to kill Kiba or something? It didn't help when they saw Naruto summon a tall, shadowy humanoid creature covered in armor. It had a few similarities to a samurai, but overall it was something they'd never seen before, not even in the history books of their respective villages. It was carrying a sword as well. Some of the genin had witnessed Naruto using these shadowy creatures to fight the Ice Elves, but this was the first time they'd gotten a close-up look at one of them. It was pretty intimidating to say the least. Just what was Naruto going to do with this summoning? Kiba would have to find out firsthand. He began to sweat bullets seeing Naruto's summoning. How was he supposed to compete with this? Well, there was a chance this guy was just for show. All bark and no bite? Yeah, that was probably the case. With this wishful thinking, Kiba began to regain his confidence. He and Akamaru charged in at Naruto and his Shadow Soldier, only for Kiba to get swatted away. He crashed into one of the walls. The referee went over to check on Kiba's condition. He was still breathing, but he was out cold. This match was Naruto's. Everyone was stunned into silence as Naruto walked back up to the stands. The Jonin in the crowd simply stared at Naruto. Asuma had a cigarette in his mouth from beforehand, but it dropped out as soon as he saw Naruto summon that creature. That wasn't like any normal summoning of the shinobi world. Kurenai was speechless seeing Kiba defeated so easily. She thought it would have at least been harder to knock the boy out, but this Naruto character intrigued her. She supposed it made more sense now why Sakura wanted to train under her. It would have probably been better to develop in different areas instead of trying to catch up with someone like this in the strength category. She was even rubbing in the fact that she taught Sakura how to do genjutsus in Asuma and Kakashi's faces before, but now she was prepared to hear Kakashi's bragging. Nothing came though. He had the same look of bewilderment on his face as everyone else. Did he not teach Naruto that? If not him, then who? Was this some strange Kekkei Genkai or something? Naruto made his way back to Sakura's side and stood patiently. He completely ignored the looks he was getting now. Kind of overkill, don't you think? Sakura murmured. Naruto shrugged in response. He honestly felt like he went pretty light on Kiba. Sure, he did end up using the strength of one of his shadows, but Kiba was going to tag team him with his dog anyway, so it was pretty fair in his eyes. The 8th match was called, and it was between family members. Neji Hyuga versus Hinata Hyuga. It was a massacre. At some points, it honestly seemed like Neji was actually trying to kill Hinata instead of just defeating the heir to the Hyuga clan. This made Naruto's blood boil, as he witnessed Naruto's onslaught against his own cousin. If it weren't for the proctor stopping Neji and ending the match, there was a good chance Naruto would have to be at the Hyuga girl's funeral. He wanted to fight Neji now and give him the beating of a lifetime. "It's clobbering time!" Naruto roared. He was about to hop into the arena, but Rock Lee was the one to grab Naruto now, informing him of the fact that he would have a chance to fight Neji in the finals. Neji disregarded Naruto completely, though. He saw what Naruto did to Kiba back there, but as far as he was concerned, that boy was just weak. The final matchup was between Gaara of the Sand and Rock Lee. Although the fight was spectacular to see, seriously one of the best so far, there could only be one victor. Rock Lee gave it his all, even increasing his speed by undoing his weights, but that only got him so far. He took it a step further and was given the consent of his sensei to unleash 5 of the inner gates. He found that he was capable of delivering a barrage of attacks on Gaara, which shook the Sand siblings to their core. For as long as they'd known him, most of their lives, Gaara was untouchable, but now someone was capable of doing this? It was almost impossible to believe. Right before Gaara fell to the ground, he used his sand gourd as a cushion by dispersing it. He wasn't done. As a matter of fact, he was just starting. "Sand-binding coffin!" Gaara screamed. The sand covered Rock Lee's left arm and leg. The bowl-cut adolescent tried escaping the restraints, but his efforts were fruitless, as Gaara crushed his arm and leg. A blood-curdling scream could be heard from Rock Lee. Gaara was about to continue and finish Lee off until Might Guy stepped in, calling the match in Gaara's favor. Gaara dropped Rock Lee and returned to the stands. A medical ninja went to pick up Lee. Might Guy followed them back to the medical institution. He wanted to know Rock Lee's condition. What he ended up finding out here was the fact that there was a chance the boy would never be able to continue his career as a ninja, considering the extensive injuries. Might Guy cursed himself for teaching Rock Lee how to unleash the inner gates in the first place. While Might Guy was left in a state of torment with how his protege ended up, everyone who won their matches in the preliminaries were drawing lots in order to determine who their opponents would be in the first round of the main tournament. The ninja were given a 1-month grace period to train and pick up new skills to prepare for the tournament. During this month, some genin ended up choosing to train by themselves. Some went for pretty reasonable jonin to train under, such as Sasuke with Kakashi. People like Sakura found themselves training under more unconventional jonin figures, considering the person she chose was Ibiki Morino, who is more versed in the wonderful plethora of interrogation methods. As for Naruto Uzumaki, he ended up meeting with an interesting pervy sage. Time would only tell how the genin would develop. Thank you all for indulging yourself in the story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials is what we do here already, but their content is centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia. So please, check us out over there if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's guaranteed to expand your weeb knowledge on all kinds of series. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members 16 years old and older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which is in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interests. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's all from us today, so thank you for watching and have a great day.